All right, so you see the title of my video. Who's the man in the relationship? I think that every lesbian has been asked this question or has heard another lesbian being asked this question. And I'm going to share a little story with you, a real life story. And it was regarding a lady I used to work with years ago. She was probably, she was older than me, but at the time, I think she may have been in her late 40s. Really attractive woman. And I was out on the job. And so people knew that I identify as a lesbian. And I was on lunch and I just came by her office just chit-chatting. And she was telling me, I want to tell you something, Giselle. So she was talking to me. And she said, there was this man, obviously he was a heterosexual man, and he was interested in her, and he was asking for her number, and he was just pretty much doing everything he could to try to get this woman to go out with him. And she told him, I have a girlfriend. And so he pauses and resorts to ask her, who's the man in the relationship? And she said she told him, I'm the man in the relationship. And she said the man's jaw dropped, like he was just in shock. And he was like saying to her, how is that possible? How are you the man in a relationship? You feminine. And she said she told him, don't worry about all that. I told you I got a girlfriend. And so when she was telling me this story, we both just bust out laughing because we just understand the inside story. Because as lesbians, when you are around people who think they know so much about you, they think they know everything about you, but they really don't. And this story just reminds me how there's so many heterosexual men who don't understand the mindset of a lesbian woman. And they're absolutely not supposed to. Now, there's also heterosexual women who operate this same way, where they will say, who's the man in the relationship? And their questioning is very sarcastic and it's crude. So when my friend, my coworker, told me the story about this heterosexual man trying to get with her and she let him know, I have a girlfriend, he proceeds to confront her with the question, who's the man in the relationship? And she busts his bubble when she says she's the man in the relationship. And he couldn't understand it. It just blew his mind because he said, how is it possible for you to be the man in the relationship? You're feminine. So she dismissed him. And it was just hilarious. And it reminds me also that most heterosexual men, and this is not all men, there are some heterosexual men who are very clear that all relationships are not the same. And there are relationships that occur between women. And a wise person would not ask the question to a lesbian, who's the man in the relationship? And it just shows you how foolish they are when they do ask lesbians this question. My name is Giselle Wallace, lesbian life coach and author. Here on my YouTube channel, I provide my lesbian perspective. And if that interests you, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. So, because this question is often asked by heterosexual men to lesbians, they usually ask this question 99.9% of the time because he's interested in you. He wants to get with you, and he's a bit disappointed but highly upset at the same time that you're a lesbian. And the reason why is because he can't have access to you. So he resorts to a jab. He resorts to a insult by questioning you, a lesbian woman who is minding her own business, but she's being now officially harassed by this man because he can't get with her. So she proceeds to let him know, I have a girlfriend, or I'm gay, or I'm lesbian. However she states the phrase to make it clear to this man that I am not interested in you, he resorts to insulting her by asking the question, who's the man in the relationship? You see, these type of men who ask this question, they really will never understand the lesbian relationship dynamic. We have various types of relationships amongst lesbians. And most people assume that lesbians are always involved with a woman who is what they refer to as being masculine or the man. And although there are lesbian women who do date masculine presenting women who identify as stud or butch or tomboyish, this is not across the board for all lesbians. And I just want to say, even for the lesbians who do date masculine presenting women, those women are still women. But where this question derives from, it comes from many places of the dark mindset of a man, but I'll just mention a couple of them, and I'm just going to say it here right quick. One of the reasons is because most men believe that a man can only satisfy a woman. They really don't think that a woman can satisfy another woman. And I do mean sexually, because men like to focus on what you're doing as a woman in the bedroom. So they resort to that mindset. But also, men have an issue with not being able to have access to all women. He wants access to you. And when he finds out that you are a lesbian, it pretty much almost drives him insane. And this is for men who are interested in you as a woman who identifies as a lesbian, because I've experienced men asking this question to myself, and I've witnessed other women who identify as lesbians experiencing men asking them this question: who's the man in the relationship? And that's why I said earlier that 99.9% of the time, these are men who are romantically and or sexually interested in a woman who identifies as a lesbian. So he does, in a sense, kind of want to pick your brain and try to figure out and understand, why are you such an attractive woman and you want another woman? I mean, honestly, he knows why you want another woman, and he gets it. Women are beautiful. Women are extremely appealing to men who are heterosexual. So they get it. You know, they see a beautiful woman. They can understand why a beautiful woman would be attracted to another beautiful woman. That's why you have men who are often intrigued by lesbians. But when they see these two beautiful women together, they want a piece of the pie. And when they see they are not able to eat the pie, then they resort to insulting the lesbian woman or the lesbian relationship dynamic. So men want to believe that they are the answer to every woman's prayer. You see, men can be very dominant. They can be very territorial, especially about women. And if they're not careful, they actually end up being harassers, tyrants, dogs. Because there's a fine line between a man letting a woman know that he is interested in her, that he finds her to be very attractive and that he wants to get to know her better, and he asks her out on a date. There's a fine line between that process, but he quickly transitions into becoming a nuisance, and he begins to harass a woman. So these type of men are very toxic. And these are the type of men who resort to asking the question to a lesbian: who's the man in the relationship? See, now you're harassing her because, for one, it's none of your business. And number two, you need to learn how to accept no as an answer. If a woman is not interested in you, you are not entitled to pressure her to accept your advances. You are a creep. when you harass a woman. You are a very weak person. When you are a male who is trying to overpower a female, you are the weakest link. And I actually have discussed before on my YouTube channel and just as a life coach, for a woman's safety, I do not recommend that women tell men that they are a lesbian, because most men, when they find out that a woman is a lesbian and they are attracted to this woman, and she says, I'm a lesbian, that is her way of telling you, I am not interested in you. But the man, he doesn't hear that. All he sees is this beautiful woman before him who he just wants to devour. And when he hears the words, I am a lesbian, it's like an aphrodisiac to him. It turns him on. And so that's why I don't recommend for women who are being approached by men, strange men, to let him know that you're a lesbian, because they don't know how to move on. They become more aggressive, and it's very upsetting. It's very uncomfortable. And like I say, it is a thin line between approaching a woman as a man to you overstepping your boundaries and you become a harasser. You are now harassing this woman, and that's illegal. Now, when I say that I don't recommend for women to tell men that they're a lesbian, this does not imply that you are ashamed of who you are as a lesbian. It does not imply that you are hiding in the closet. It's about protecting yourself. Now, if you do say that you're a lesbian, you have not done anything wrong. So I want to make that clear as well, because you have the right to say, hey, I'm gay, I'm a lesbian, or I have a girlfriend, or I have a wife. Some of these women are married. They have a wife. And the harassment gets even worse when men hear you say, I am married, I have a wife. Because at this point, he's going bonkers. So although you are well in your rights to say, I'm married, I have a girlfriend, I'm gay, I'm lesbian, however you say it, you've done nothing wrong, but just for your safety. Because men will challenge you, men will become more aggressive with you by you just being honest about who you are. You are a lesbian woman. They do not know how to stop. They don't know how to back off, but they will find out the hard way, because harassment is illegal. So when a man is rejected by a lesbian woman who he is attracted to, because he feels defeated, because he feels like he does not have a chance, because a man knows who and what lesbian means. She is a female homosexual. She is exclusively interested in women only. So he understands what a lesbian means, But he just wants to try to convince you that you're not really who you say you are. But when you stand firm on who you are, then he's going to insult you. He's going to get in your business by asking you, who's the man in the relationship? Ladies, that's absolutely none of his business. He has overstepped your boundary. You don't even have to say anything else to him. But just going back to the conversation that me and my former coworker were sharing together, where she was telling me, she was sharing with me, and we shared in a great laugh together. She told the guy, I'm the man in the relationship. And he just couldn't understand it. It just baffled him. He wasn't expecting to hear that. How are you a man in a relationship? You're feminine. How does that happen? Now, mind you, he doesn't know this woman. He's just checking her out. He likes what he sees, and he's flirting with her, asking her out. She tells him, I have a girlfriend. And when he sees he can't get her to agree to be with him, then he results in asking, who's the man in the relationship? But by her saying the statement, I'm the man in the relationship, which I believe was a great comeback, this woman knows that she's not literally a man, and she does not identify as a man. But she's just letting him know that his insults are not going to get him anywhere with her. And just give you just a brief insight, because it's really none of your business about lesbian relationships and what they do in their own relationship, because that's their own private relationship. It's nobody's business. But since you want to pry and you want to pick the brain of a lesbian woman, lesbians don't need a man, and lesbians do not want a man. Lesbians don't even think about being with a man, because she's probably got a beautiful woman right by her side. So being with the man, having a man, is not even in her mind. She's completely satisfied by being with a woman. And no matter how hard you try to convince her that she's not satisfied and that a man can only satisfy her, well, you can keep on dreaming, because the reality is she's a lesbian and she's got a beautiful woman by her side, and they're both very happy. So the next time you want to ask a lesbian or a lesbian couple who's the man in the relationship, just understand and know that you are not the man, and you will never be the man, and you are not a man for asking a lesbian or a lesbian couple that question, who's the man in the relationship. I am Giselle Wallace, lesbian life coach and author. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Contact me if you want life coaching. You can reach me. All of my information is here on YouTube in the description box below this video. Thank you for listening.